Let's make one of the easiest and most popular frosting recipes on my website. Peanut butter frosting is super easy to make, very basic ingredients you probably already have in your pantry, and it pairs so well with many different kinds of cakes and cupcakes, but I especially love it with chocolate cupcakes. To begin, we will start with butter. You'll need 1 cup of softened butter, and I do like to use an unsalted butter here. I will be adding some salt later on. If you only have salted butter, you'll just skip adding the salt. Next, our peanut butter. You'll need 1 cup of peanut butter. I'm using creamy. Crunchy would be fine, but of course you're going to have some texture, which would make things very difficult to pipe if you were using a piping tip. Just know to expect that you'll have some peanuts in it if you use crunchy. A word on natural peanut butter, you know, the kind that you stir, it will work for this recipe, but the frosting's not usually quite as creamy and smooth. I'm using, this is probably Jif that I'm using today. You guys know I make my own peanut butter often, but I usually don't use that when I'm making frosting or other recipes that require you to bake with peanut butter. Before we add anything else, we are going to mix everything together until it's smooth and creamy. If you have a stand mixer, it will work great with this recipe. Just use the paddle attachment. However, I'm just going to be using my electric hand mixer today. Let's go ahead and mix that till it's nice and smooth. And my butter is a little bit chilled still, so it's going to make it a little bit more difficult, but I want to make sure I mix it until it's totally smooth. Let me do a quick scrape of the bowl. It's always good practice. And you especially want to scrape your bowl often if you're using a stand mixer, just because there's that space on the bottom of the bowl that's really good at holding onto butter and not mixing it in or other ingredients. So just watch out for that. All right, next, our powdered sugar. You're going to need 3 cups for this recipe. Now, traditional buttercreams will usually use 4 cups of powdered sugar to a cup of butter. So this is a little bit less sweet than traditional buttercream. Plus we're adding in peanut butter, which is already not a sweet ingredient. It's more savory, or I should say more salty. So this really isn't a crazy sweet frosting. Oh, it's frosting. It's still sweet, don't get me wrong. Now, what I wanted to tell you here was that you should really add the powdered sugar gradually, because that's going to minimize your chances of powdered sugar flying everywhere and making a mess. However, it's too late for me to do that. I've added over half of it, so we're just going to do our best and stir it on low speed. I'll clean up what we've lost. It looks like just about a teaspoon, so not that much. And we'll keep it on low speed to keep that sugar from flying everywhere, to the best of our abilities. Normally, I like to add the sugar like a 1/3 or a 1/2 cup at a time. And what that also does is it gives that butter and peanut butter some time to absorb the powdered sugar. If you add too much at once, it just makes it more difficult to absorb it, and the mixture might even look a little bit crumbly for a while. Nothing we can't work past, it's just not my preferred way to do this. Add a little bit more. I should have scooped it in. Last bit. You can certainly increase your mixer speed, but you don't want to do it until that powdered sugar is mostly absorbed. Otherwise, it goes everywhere. All right, let's do a scrape of the bowl. Looking pretty good. It's not totally uniform, but we'll get there when we mix it again in just a moment. But first, let's add some of our flavorings. So the first thing we'll add is salt, because as I mentioned, I used unsalted butter for this recipe. So this is just a 1/2 teaspoon of table salt. We're also going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Give everything a nice stir. Get these ingredients really well combined. You want those flavorings well distributed into the frosting. Okay, we're not done yet. We're actually going to thin the frosting just a bit. So peanut butter is very thick and the frosting is kind of just too much at this point. So I have 2 tablespoons of whole milk. I prefer whole milk, but really any milk will work. Just if you're using a skim or a thinner milk, you might need a little bit less. So I'm going to gradually drizzle this in while I'm mixing on low speed. We'll just gradually increase that speed to high, and then I like to beat it really well for like 30 seconds. Let's take a look. Here we have a nice, creamy, silky peanut butter frosting, which also tastes amazing. I'm going to show you how it pipes. Here's my little, anytime you have to fill up a piping bag on your own, just put the tip up, put it in a large cup, and then it's so easy to do this one-handed. All right, and then this frosting pipes beautifully, just as well as classic buttercream. You can use it under fondant if you'd like. And this is my 848 tip. I like the 846, 847, 848. They all pipe so nicely. I'm not a decorator, but I love this piping tip because it makes me feel like one. This recipe is also being featured in my cookbook, which includes many reader favorites along with some exclusive cookbook recipes. If you want to grab that, check out my description. I will have a link down there for the pre-order. I hope you love this as much as I do. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. I know I could eat the cupcake too, but that is good. And honestly, the flavor develops even more as the cupcakes sit. It's very difficult for me to hear my own voice. Pairs perfectly with everything from vanilla cake to chocolate cake, which that's like kind of just 2 cakes. They're the most basic. Technically, I would say works a little bit more better and a little bit, what's wrong? More better. Okay. Yeah, I made a mess of this. Okay, it's hard for me to do that.